need a service center. When you establish a service center, you are taking on a lot of administrative burden. You're taking on a lot of staff time. You're also potentially taking on some risk, more financial than anything else. And my experience is that I'll get the question very often, oh, I think we need to establish a service center, and that's how we're going to run this. And I would say at least 50% of the time we end up not setting up a service center. And the question is, can you figure out some other way to do it without setting up a service center? They're hard to establish, and they're hard to run. They take a lot of energy, and they're hard to stop. So some of the questions to ask when you're thinking, do I need a service center? The first one is, are these services available someplace else on the campus? If you're looking to operate, for example, a diagnostic lab and one already exists, does it make sense to acquire specialized equipment and assign personnel? Even if you're efficient, there's a good chance that you're going to duplicate the services and that you're going to have unnecessary costs by buying extra equipment. In the end, the price for the service of each service center will probably be higher because if you're operating two, you have more costs and you might be more efficient just operating one. Second thing to think about is the need short or long term. Because for short-term needs, you really, really want to come up with some other alternative, whether it's routine allocation of costs or some other way to assign the costs in a way that's compliant, but not to set up a whole service center. And the next question is to think about, are the services that you're providing have anything to do with federal funds? So for example, is there some kind of subsidy from the federal government? So what happens sometimes is a service center will be started, or someone's questioning setting up a service center, and what you're trying to do is use some federal funds to fund part of it. The issue then becomes, is this really program income? And if it is, generally every institution has a methodology for how do you record and how do you track program income, and a service center is a difficult way to do that. I have seen examples where you've got a part of the service center which has some funding from the federal government, but you need to be very careful with the terms and conditions of the awards because they may not allow for the institution then to take in the fees and not reimburse the grant. The fourth is, are the charges simply a simple reallocation of costs? For example, someone's buying a lot of a particular thing, whether it's bulk chemicals or it could be all sorts of things, lab supplies. If it's a simple reallocation, or there's even sometimes it's a complicated reallocation, you would always want to do that rather than setting up a service center. And then the final thing to think about: what portion of your users are internal versus external? If you have a significant amount of external customers, it may be that you should be setting up an auxiliary and it really isn't a service center. Another thing to worry about is if you have a lot of external customers and some of them are commercial, you may run into problems with unrelated business income tax, also known as UBIT. So that's something else to think about.